Sophie Hardy and the Battle of the Myriad by M.R. Dale, narrated by Leona Hall. Chapter 1, The Beginning of the Middle. "Start programme," Sophie said through gritted teeth. It must have been the 100th time that day that Sophie had asked the programme in the playground to restart, but she was so determined to defeat the hardest level of the Chimera that she wasn't going to give up, however impossible it seemed to be. Around her, the dark black squares of the playground floor morphed gradually into a raging pit of fire. Flames licked Sophie's feet, and an enormous cave standing right in front of her, encircled by the inferno, dwarfed Sophie and her 10-year-old frame. Not feeling the heat as she was in her avatar, Sophie took a deep breath and stood in attack position. The spear that was lined with lead stood atop the enormous stone wall that was home to the demon inside. Miss Sissons had told her that no agents had ever passed this test, forgetting that the only ones who had ever tried were Clara and herself. If Sophie could reach the top of the climb and hurl the spear into the mouth of the beast, then, according to mythology, the flames given off by the Chimera would melt the lead and pour it down the monster's throat, thus destroying it. The last 10 or so times she had tried it, Sophie had gone left, and every single time the beast had swatted her like a fly, and the game had been declared over. Sophie opted to go right. She had done this the first few times she had tried this level and still failed, but she hadn't done it for a while and so decided to go for it again. She knew it probably wasn't going to work, but going back to her flat or to see Clara or Yasmin wasn't something she wanted to do right now. With a loud battle cry, Sophie darted forwards towards the cave and waited for the appearance of the most feared creature in all of mythology. No sooner had she moved 1 foot forwards than an ear-splitting roar emanated violently from the inside of the cave. Footsteps shook the ground, and Sophie nearly stumbled under the sheer force of the vibrations, despite the fact she had faced it many times that day already. The first thing out of the cave was its enormous horn that curved towards the sky and glowed dark green. The point at the end glistened and sparkled with a menacing delight. Next out was the head of the lion that the horn was attached to. Teeth gnarled and lips were licked as the intruder, who had woken it from its slumber, attempted to infiltrate the creature's lair. Next, Sophie caught sight of the dragon's head, which grew out of the lion back. It had black scaly skin and appeared even more threatening than the one that Sophie had met on the school field. Spinning its head in a circle, the dragon breathed yet more fire onto the outside of the cave, making it even more difficult for Sophie to climb up. There had been the option in the settings of the level to just have this head be a snake, incapable of breathing fire, but Sophie wanted to make it as hard as she possibly could for herself, and so went with the fire-breathing dragon. Next to where the dragon's head was were 2 enormous black wings, which Sophie knew at any minute would help the creature to fly up and swat her down if she didn't move quickly enough. Finally, out of the cave emerged the head of the demon goat. It let out an almighty screech, and Sophie felt shudders down her spine once more. Not even considering stepping back, Sophie charged forwards as the creature reared up and it aimed a blast of fire at her. Leaping right, as she had planned to do, Sophie dodged it and clung on to a piece of rock that managed to subvert her from view. Annoyed, the Chimera looked around to try and locate its prey. Sophie took the opportunity to start climbing as fast as she could. She jumped from ledge to ledge as fast as she could, but suddenly the Chimera's dragon head peered around the corner and launched a ball of fire from its enormous jaws. Sophie jumped as high as she could and dodged the bolt with inches to spare. Now the creature was angry though. Sophie kept on jumping, but still couldn't make out the top of the rock where she knew the spear was. She heard another enormous roar and screech from beneath her, and then made out the indistinguishable sound of the flapping of wings. She jumped faster, but the sound grew louder. Still nowhere near the top, one of the rocks buckled under Sophie's hand, and she nearly fell. Catching a glimpse of the creature beneath her, she again dodged a fireball and clung on with both hands. Sophie assumed she must have been about halfway up now, a height she had only reached once before. Jumping and swinging her way up, she continued to climb, but the creature grew ever closer. Still only about 3/4 of the way up, the sound of the wings beating reverberated down Sophie's ears. She took one big breath before another huge jump, but as she flew, the neck of the dragon swiped her to one side and meant she had no choice but to fall to her death. All around her, the cave and the fire disappeared back into black squares. As she fell, she caught sight of the chimera and felt like it was laughing at her as she continued to fall. With a thud, Sophie found herself lying on the floor like nothing had happened. "Damn it!" Sophie shouted. Failing to get anywhere near to beating the chimera, however, was at the bottom of a very long list of worries that Sophie had, but times were dark at the moment, and so it was the only thing that Sophie wanted to think about. Anything else was too scary and dark at the moment. The red light flashed in the corner of her eye. The message was from Yasmin. "Get to Zapfor. She's getting out of control." Sophie knew instantly what it was about and did exactly as her best friend had told her. Before she zoned out, though, she felt some sort of lump in her pocket that wasn't there before. She reached in to grab whatever it was, but when she did so, the object just disappeared before she could see what it was. Putting it down to a glitch in the game, or her avatar, much like Clara's glitchy appearance, or indeed her imagination, Sophie zoned straight into the cell in Zapfor that she knew she needed to go to. The Sophie Hardy saga was written and produced by M.R. Dale and narrated and produced by Leona Hall. If you enjoyed it and would like to continue to follow the adventures of Sophie and her friends in coming episodes, then please subscribe through one of the many podcast providers out there. The links for each of these can be found on our website. If you require more information, visit our many social media channels, or if you would like to purchase a copy of the book, then be sure to check out our website, www.sophiehardysaga.com. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy.